pressure is mounting on the DOJ to release the remaining Epstein files. How is the president reacting to this?
Well, Britt, this just is the problem that seems to never go away for President Trump, and he was lashing out about it in a post overnight, saying that now 1 million more pages on Epstein are found. DOJ is being forced to spend all of its time on this Democrat-inspired hoax. He noted that Democrats are he wants all of the names released. He wants to embarrass Democrats and get back to helping the country. The radical left doesn't want people talking about Trump and Republican success. Only long ago, Jeffrey Epstein, just another witch hunt. But the point is, Trump is already in the Epstein files. His name, his photographs, he's connected to this. Now, the likelihood of some sort of smoking gun coming out in one of these million pages is probably low at this point. But as long as it's still in the news cycle, it's not good for President Trump, who would rather be focused on, quite frankly, anything else.
Last night, the second part of the Epstein files were released. I spent all night going through them, and I can tell you they're exponentially worse for Trump than the first drop. Here are the 9 most shocking things I found. In a witness statement from 2020, an individual claimed that Donald Trump had invited her to a party at Mar-a-Lago. One of Epstein's associates told her not to go because it's frequented by women of the night. In another FBI witness statement, an individual claimed that there's films of both Donald Trump and Bill Clinton that Epstein had in his possession. The DOJ also admitted that there were 10 co-conspirators to Jeffrey Epstein, but redacted them all but one. That one was Lex Wexner, the Victoria's Secret billionaire. A limo driver told the FBI that he had overheard Donald Trump speaking to a man named Jeffrey, telling him about abusing young women. The same individual told the FBI that he knew a woman who had horrible things done to her at the hands of Trump. A DOJ investigator emailed their superior after a media outlet had contacted them to verify the claims of a victim having intercourse with Trump attorney Alan Dershowitz. A letter allegedly sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Team USA doctor Larry Nassar, who committed horrible crimes against his women patients. The letter said, "Our president also shares our love of young nubiles." An email from the assistant U.S. attorney from the Southern District of New York saying that Donald Trump was on Epstein's plane far more than the public knows, 8 times. And finally, why the heck did Trump's DOJ redact men's faces from files that were not supposed to be redacted?
Why is Lake Michigan trending in the Epstein files? Let's break it down. This file comes from an FBI intake form dated as of August 2020 and labeled Jeffrey Epstein Child SEX Trafficking. In this intake, a woman alleges that she spoke with him about being SEX trafficked by her uncle and Jeffrey Epstein in 1984 while she was 13 and pregnant. Continues. I told him some other important information about other high-profile individuals involved in my SEX trafficking and the unaliving and disposal of my newborn daughter because I gave birth to her while in the middle of this SEX trafficking ordeal. The next page of the intake form states that most of the incident occurred from a yacht in Lake Michigan. Jeffrey Epstein was named as a subject. According to the intake, Jeffrey Epstein was orchestrating a deal, along with my uncle, where different men and a few women and girls would come to a variety of boats and yachts and pay money to force me to do blank with them when I was 13 and pregnant. And Donald Trump is listed as a witness. And under How is Contact Known, it states, he participated regularly in paying money to force me to blank with him, and he was present when my uncle unalived my newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. Since the release of the additional Epstein files, the DOJ has come out stating, some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims were unfounded and false, and if they had a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. So let me know, do you believe the DOJ statement, or do you have other thoughts on this intake?
What do you mean that Donald Trump is in the files? I can't see that. There's zero evidence. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I haven't seen that anywhere. You're making this... Clinton is in them, though. I saw Clinton in them. So, you don't care about that.
No, I'm not talking about that. I don't know shit about shit.
Oh, is that what's happening? Really? Where? Why didn't you stitch the video where a Democrat was saying that? Why didn't you take screenshots of the posts where a Democrat was saying that and put that up? Hell, Bill Clinton himself released a statement and said, release anything that has my name on it. Any photos, anything, put it out there. I got nothing to hide. Why do you have to cosplay it? Like if I came on here and said, some MAGA are actually making excuses and blaming Epstein's victims. If I came on and did a little character like, I blame the victims, and like, that's terrible of you. You'd be like, that's gross. No one's doing that. Except I have this.
She made me? Yes. Do you like it? Are you sure? I'm not sure.
Wait a moment. That can't be what she's doing though, right? when she posted these girls were tripping for $300. She's not talking about Epstein's underage victims, right? And this one, she's definitely not talking about Epstein's underage victims, right?
The 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls that you guys were referring to, they knew exactly what they were doing. Chances are they weren't 13. But if they were, they weren't. But if they were, they knew what they were doing, just like you did. Everything that you did when you were 15 years old, underneath the bleachers at somebody else's house, skipping school, in a car, all of those items that you were doing, they're doing the same thing. Don't try to make them victims now. They went knowing what they were doing. They wanted money. Did they get it? Well, then transaction complete.
Oh yeah, she was. And just in case there's any doubt, her comment section looks like this. Anytime someone says children cannot consent, she puts up the dictionary definition of consent because she can't grasp the idea that children cannot sexually consent to things. She would rather blame the victims than just be accountable for the fact that a bunch of people, quite possibly the president she voted for, and others, Democrat, Republican, I don't give a fuck who they were, that everyone who did that is a monster. She's doing video after video going, nope. Lisa, who likes to debate the libs. You know what's funny, Lisa? I feel like your lives and stuff are going to get flooded with a bunch of hate comments. And there's going to be a good percentage of those that are straight up MAGA, that are straight up people who love Donald Trump, who voted for Donald Trump, but are disgusted by you. And I feel like whatever you got incoming from that is probably well-deserved.
Hi, anyone seen QAnon? Because right now, the group that was so sure Democrats were running an illicit child sex ring out of a pizza place based on nothing but the rearranging of every third letter in a list of hashtags is now kind of quiet on the whole FBI reports, witness testimony, and official documents from the Epstein files. They spent years shoving down our throats to wake up, sheeple. The evidence was in the tea leaves that the deep state was hiding nefarious machinations, and if you care about this country, you gotta get yourself a looking glass, because through it is the truth. And now, in the face of the kind of credible evidence that they spent all of that time clamoring for, they're on hiatus? They were right. There's a cabal of elites abusing minors, using their privilege to escape justice. Sorry the rest of us waited for slightly more substantial evidence than anagrams, but take a bow. The Epstein files validate your fears are well-founded. Now, where are you? Because right now it seems like where we go one, we go all on airplane mode till this blows over.
Do you guys want to know who's not named in the Epstein files? Well, Joe Biden and Barack Obama are not named in the Epstein files. Have a good evening.
We have another update, ladies and gentlemen, about Donald Trump and his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. This one involves Katie Johnson and a woman named Tiffany Doe, who witnessed everything Katie Johnson said in her interview. By the way, this story involves trigger warnings.
And he's a germ, doesn't like germs, so he, rather than partaking, he just watches. So Tiffany had informed him that I was the virgin, and so I was basically, so it was Tiffany who introduced us.
Now for context, you can check out the case number right here and read this for yourself. It's only 2 pages. There you have it. Now what I'm going to do is provide you with context that Tiffany Doe knew exactly what was happening with Katie Johnson. Let's first start off with Katie Johnson's interview she did with detectives, in which she recalls her first time meeting Donald Trump and what he made her do with a glove.
The first time that I met Donald Trump was at a party at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. There was an going on, and he was kind of watching off in the distance. And he basically asked if I could come over and give him a hand job. And it, sorry, this is a little difficult, but before I gave him a job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said, you need to use a glove. And the recruiter ran over and handed me a glove and said, no one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove. So I needed to use a glove. I gave him a job, and then immediately after, he had an orgasm, he left, and I didn't see him again at that party.
Gross, right? Now listen to how she claims that Donald Trump told her that she reminds him of his daughter.
There's a blonde wig that she said that looked great on me, so I wore that wig, and Donald Trump had specifically asked about me because I remind him of his daughter, and she said, well, she's 13 as well.
Now listen to Katie Johnson talk about the second time she met Donald Trump. Don't worry, we're going to get into this court document in just a second.
Okay. Second time that I saw Mr. Trump was same scenario. He was onlooking at an orgy, and Tiffany came over to me and said that Donald Trump had requested that I perform oral sex on him, and I'd never done something like that with anybody, so I was a little nervous. So I walked up to him, and he was sitting there very proud, and I just kind of moved in that direction, and he kind of slapped me away and said, "What are you doing? You need to put a condom on," like I was some dirty filth or something without a condom. Tiffany ran over and handed him a condom and apologized, profusely, and said that would never happen again. And she looked at me and scolded me basically like a child and said that, that's not how, Donald Trump always, anytime you touch his penis, it needs to have a condom on or a glove, and especially when it comes to performing oral sex. So I apologized, and then I performed oral sex on him. And once he was done, he hopped up, and that's the last I saw of him at that party. It's like once he's done, he's out. Mm-hmm. So. Okay.
Now let's dive into this document. Starting off with part 7. It was at these series of parties that I witnessed the plaintiff being forced to perform various sexual acts with Donald J. Trump and Mr. Epstein. Both Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein were advised that she was 13 years old. Part 8. I personally witnessed 4 sexual encounters that the plaintiff was forced to have with Mr. Trump during this period, including the 4th of these encounters where Mr. Trump forcibly raped her despite her pleas to stop.
Shut up, bitch. This was basically like he was being really, really rough, and I understand. It just didn't seem like a fantasy, and I started to get scared, and he was, basically like ripping my clothes off, and I was actually I got freaked out. I told him that I didn't want to do this. I was, I screamed over for Tiffany. She was like, Mr. Trump, she's only, this is scaring her. And he's like, oh, you shut up too. He just turned into this animal. It was like a completely different person.
Part 9. I personally witnessed the one occasion where Mr. Trump forced the plaintiff and a 12-year-old female named Maria to perform oral S on Mr. Trump, and witnessed his physical abuse of both minors when they finished the act. Now listen to Katie Johnson's claims, in which she says Donald Trump at one point threatened to call immigration on 12-year-old Maria, which made Katie Johnson feel like she had to do what she did. This is sick.
There was those 2 times, and then there was after the next thing that Tiffany approached me with was that he had a fantasy where he walked in on his maids basically making out, and that it was some type of fantasy for him. So she asked, I mean, I was, at that point, I was like, I don't want to be involved with anything that has to do with him. But she's like, you are just basically the other one. So there's nothing that you will have to do. Just don't, he's requesting you to be involved. So I reluctantly, I felt like I didn't have a choice there, but it was basically, he's walking in, his two maids, I was one of the maids, I was the white maid, and there was a Spanish girl, Maria, who was the Hispanic maid, and we were making out, and he walks in and he gets really angry and threatens to call immigration on Maria if she doesn't come over and make things right and give him a blowjob. So while she is over there giving him a blowjob, I am just trying to, I'm supposed to look scared, like, oh no, and cleaning up things and pretending like I'm trying to go back to my job as a maid. And then he's being so rude to Maria. I felt so bad for her, even though I guess it just didn't seem like a fantasy. It didn't seem like it's the weirdest fantasy as far as that. He was threatening to call immigration on her, so that she didn't know how to, she wasn't even near going down to give him, perform oral sex on him before he slapped her away and said, what are you doing? You need to put a condom on, and she's trying to, I'm so sorry, and he's like, you can't even understand what you're saying, speak English, he called her derogatory comments, and then he's like, you know what, you don't know what you're doing, have her come over and show you how it's done. And so I said that I didn't, I had to go over there or else he was going to call immigration on Maria. I didn't know if it was true or not, but I felt that, he said that if I didn't show her how to perform oral sex on him, then he was going to call immigration on her and then get rid of us both.
Now, at the end of this interview, Katie Johnson discloses how Donald Trump destroyed her life. What a disgrace.
Donald Trump destroyed my feeling of self-worth and my self-esteem when it was still growing, like when it just bloomed. It hadn't even had a chance to experience anything.
Now, after hearing all of that, I promise you, Donald Trump's supporters, they will do everything they can to try to discredit all of this information, and they'll keep going. That's not enough evidence, Zeus. So the question remains now, MAGA. What will it take before you come out of the cult?
This lady writes, Dear Liberals, you and I are not friends. We disagree on everything from abortion to the Second Amendment. Your belief system is abhorrent to nearly every personal and political value I hold. That said, you did try to warn us about Trump. And she goes on to say that her eyes are now open. It's not the man she voted for, etc. So are Trump supporters about to abandon him? No, of course not. We have this conversation every few weeks. Of course not. The Epstein files are not going to make any difference to Trump's level of support. Why? Because Trump supporters want someone who's dangerous. They're not voting for him because he did such a brilliant job 2016 to 2020 that they just thought, God, we've got to bring this guy back. He handled COVID so amazingly, we have to have him back again. No, they want someone who's dangerous. They want someone who's going to be a threat to their enemies. They want someone who's going to be aggressive, who's going to be chauvinistic. That's the whole point. My theory is that Americans are under extreme stress like the rest of the world can't even comprehend. They get 2 weeks of holiday a year if they're lucky. They know that if they leave their job, they could potentially lose their insurance, and then if they get ill, they can lose their house. They live in this society that is all about money and status and constantly making more and more money. Even their churches are riddled with capitalism and greed and selfishness. That's a really stressful situation to live in. People are armed. You have to have a gun because your next door neighbor's got a gun, the guy over the road's got a gun. The whole place is kindling. The whole place is ready to go up, and people, when they are under stress, want someone aggressive that they can rally around who they feel will protect them. It's a really basic instinct in primates. So yeah, you'll get the odd person like this who'll be all like, oh no, we don't like Trump anymore, probably because she wanted to go viral that day or something. But most of Trump's supporters just will not care about things like the Epstein files, because all it does is reiterate what they want him to be, which is a dangerous, scary man. That's the whole point. If you want to destroy Trump, convince his supporters that he's actually not dangerous, which is hard to do because the guy's dangerous.
I just read on the official Department of Justice government website how a woman has been calling in to the NYPD to report that she was trafficked at the age of 13 by Jeffrey Epstein and her uncle on various yachts and boats on Lake Michigan in May through September of 1984. And that she was pregnant when her uncle was making these deals with Jeffrey Epstein to sell her off to different men, which she describes in the paperwork, one of those men also being Donald Trump. And because she gave birth while she was being trafficked, her uncle took her newborn baby and threw it in Lake Michigan. And Donald Trump was there as a witness. This is on the official Department of Justice government website right now. I wonder how MAGA and the pro-life crowd, I wonder how they're going to try and spin this so they can stay in the cult. This is sick.
Jeffrey Epstein's Amazon orders, here we go. This is some sort of oxygen tank or something for children. Very bizarre and disturbing. Of course, we have a lot of books on the current leader, Kushner himself, depression, as well as raising children, baby sleepers, baby books, and baby toys. The threat, how the FBI protects America in the age of terror, and our current leader. Tommy Hilfiger children's girls squirt. This is inappropriate. I'm so sorry, but this is tightening pills for girls' private parts down there. Very disturbing. A book on depression. I don't want to talk about it. Overcoming the Secret Legacy of Male Depression. Book on mushrooms and how they can heal the world. The Rothschild's book. It seems his card declined. Are we still going to say it's a conspiracy that he worked with the blue and white state? Because this book is the rise and unaliving first. Yeah, I have to say that word, unaliving. The secret history of the blue and white states targeted unalivings, starting with an A. A microscope camera, like a super tiny camera. Like why do you need a super tiny camera? I don't even know what he did with that. And a sickening story of Lolita, family wealth management, secrets of Western Tantra, spacers for a pedicure, girls' uniform outfits, Jasmine plant next to the Lolita book, passion, an essay on personality, another pleated skirt, lots and lots of handcuffs. This one's really disturbing. The formula, unlocking the secrets of raising highly successful children. Was he trying to raise these girls? A black metal canopy bed. It's a size queen, I'm assuming for a little girl. More shaggy rugs. More baby clothes. This order confirmation, I can't even read these words because I'll probably get from the apps, but I'll just let you guys read them. They're very inappropriate. Yeah. There are hundreds of more Amazon orders. A 50s styles halter dress, a wedding dress of some sort, lots of binoculars, a microscope, a furry carpet.
There's a lot of fake content being thrown into the Epstein files to try and distract you from the truth of what's going on, but the letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar, that one's real. The letter was sent sometime in late July or early August before Jeffrey Epstein allegedly killed himself. And the existence of this letter has been reported since 2019 when the Associated Press got a trove of 4,000 documents either from within Jeffrey Epstein's cell or related to the investigation into the death of Jeffrey Epstein. However, The actual postcard itself was not included in the documents that were turned over to the Associated Press. That is probably because the FBI sent this postcard out for a handwriting analysis to ensure that it was in fact Jeffrey Epstein that sent it to Larry Nassar. Now, if you've never been to jail, you might not know that inmates are not allowed to send mail to other inmates without approval. So the fact that Jeffrey Epstein, a criminally convicted pedophile, was allowed to send a postcard to another criminally convicted pedophile, Larry Nassar, is sort of unusual. And all of the mail that you send in prison is read. So several people would have read this, and they still allowed him to send it. Dear LN, as you know by now, I have taken the short route home, indicating that he took his own life. Good luck. We shared one thing, our love and caring for young ladies, disgusting, and the hope that they'd reach their full potential, vile. Our president also shares our love of young, nubile girls. Okay. When young beauties walked by, he loved to grab snatch, whereas we ended up snatching grub in the mess halls of the system. Life is unfair. I'm sorry, that is just so hard to read out loud. This postcard is incredibly damning. It not only is so salacious in the fact that Jeffrey Epstein is writing to this other very high-profile pedophile who's in prison, but it specifically mentions the president, who at the time was Donald Trump. Also curious here is Jeffrey Epstein had access to a cell phone and was in constant communication with the outside world. He wouldn't have not known that Larry Nassar was actually being held in a Michigan prison. Yet he sent the letter to the prison that Nassar had been held at only for a couple of months in the summer of 2018. Did Jeffrey Epstein write an incriminating letter and intentionally send it to the wrong address, knowing that it would be returned to sender and end up back in his files? And him sending it to Larry Nassar in particular, as opposed to anybody else, would have really stuck out to the press and to the public. A couple questions remain here. What was the result of the FBI handwriting analysis of the letter? Why did Jeffrey Epstein send it to an Arizona prison? Why wasn't it included in the documents that were given to the Associated Press when they were investigating the death of Jeffrey Epstein? And Larry Nassar is still alive. He is serving his sentence at the Coleman, Florida high-security federal facility. Also, why is Nassar being held in Florida when he committed his crimes in Texas and Michigan, both of which have federal prisons?
Something about this watch drawer is absolutely driving me crazy. And this could be a little out there. Consider this a theory, okay? So this is one of the photos that was in the documents released by the DOJ. In this photo, you can see that this is a bedroom. This is a bedside table. And in the bedside table, there are a bunch of watches. And I'm not a big watch person, so maybe this is a normal way to store your watches. But to me, this looks like, I don't know, like an electronic junk drawer. As you can see, there's like an Apple Watch, there's some normal watches, and in that same area, we're also finding different audio recorders. Here's another example. In that same area, we have another audio recorder. And while this could be completely normal and nothing at all, I personally think it's very interesting how many of Jeffrey's girls, specifically girls within the core 4 plus Karina Shuliak, but even some of the victims who are censored, we can see they have big chunky watches on their arms. Example 1, example 2, example 3, example 4. In this photo, Jeffrey's literally putting a watch on a victim or a member of the core 4. Here's another example. Here is another example. Here's another example. And here's another example. And like this watch on Karina Shuliak's arm, and Karina Shuliak was the last ex-girlfriend of Jeffrey, looks really similar to the watch that's in the middle here. And again, it could be nothing. This could be a normal thing. Maybe these are all watch people. I have no idea. But I personally would not put it past Jeffrey to always have the girls, his trusted, loyal girls, wired with some kind of an inconspicuous audio recording device so that Jeffrey is able to hear what his friends are saying to these girls behind closed doors, or collect audio recordings as a tool of blackmail. Or perhaps these were some kind of like a GPS device so that Jeffrey could keep track of where the girls were. And I could be totally off base, but I personally wouldn't put it past the man who was going back and forth with Sultan Ahmad bin Sulayem about manufacturing a product that put a GPS tracker into the shoes of children, and the guy who always had his planes and properties wired with audio and video recording. I simply would not put it past him to put an audio recording device in something inconspicuous like a watch. It's too easy. Maybe that's why the FBI collected such a high volume of audio recording devices. I don't know. Again, could be totally wrong. These just might be watch people. I don't know. It's just a pattern that I'm picking up on, and I just had to share it with you guys because it's nagging at me. But anyways, I think we're getting another drop of photos from the DOJ this afternoon, so I will keep you guys posted and let you know when those come out, and we will just continue to dissect these as quickly and as thoroughly as possible.
People on TikTok and Reddit showed a way to actually unredact one of the Epstein files, so we decided to take a look and see for ourselves. This is the Justice Department's new Epstein library, where they've been posting tens of thousands of documents in the past week. If you scroll around the site, you can get to this page, which contains the botched redaction. It's from a lawsuit filed in 2020 by the government of the U.S. Virgin Islands against Jeffrey Epstein's estate. So this is the key paragraph, and it references Darren Indyke, Jeffrey Epstein's longtime attorney. Only problem? It's redacted. We can't see it. But if you select the whole paragraph, copy and paste into a Word document, you can actually see what was underneath those redactions. The Virgin Islands lawyers alleged that Epstein's tax-exempt charitable foundation was fraudulently misused to cover up Epstein's criminal activity. In that redacted paragraph, they claimed that Indyke, who ran the charity, quote, signed foundation account checks for over $400,000 made payable to young female models and actresses, including a former Russian model. Now that's a lot of money, but it's only an allegation, so we reached out to Indyke's lawyers for comment. I'll read for you what they said. Quote, not a single woman has ever accused Mr. Indyke of committing sexual abuse or witnessing sexual abuse. They went on to say, quote, no judge in any court anywhere has ever found that Mr. Indyke committed any wrongdoing of any kind. Now, a lot of people on social media were blaming this faulty redaction on the Trump DOJ, and the DOJ has taken a lot of heat for over-redacting some parts of the Epstein files and under-redacting other parts, possibly exposing some of Epstein's victims. But you can't blame this redaction error on the DOJ, and here's why. All right, we're here at the top, and you can see that this case was filed in the Superior Court of the Virgin Islands, and the case began in 2020. So you can use that case number to look up the original files in the Virgin Islands, and that's exactly what we did here. If you look closely, the numbers all match. You can find the file in this docket, which indicates two things. Number one, it was first posted in February of 2021, and it was uploaded by the Virgin Islands Attorney General. So you can click through to the document. You can see it's the same file. It's got the same redactions. You can do the same copy and paste trick, which means these botched redactions have actually been out there for nearly 5 years.
If this is the stuff that they let us see, the things that they are hiding is probably 100 times worse. Wow, y'all. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I mean, I hate to say that it's shocking, but I mean, because I don't put anything past this man, but just hearing details of it, it's just gut-wrenching to think that young girls were going through all of this stuff. Like that Lake Michigan stuff in the Katie Johnson interview. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that interview before. Let me know if that's old news. I didn't really follow what was going on when Jeffrey Epstein was on trial and all that, or Ghislaine Maxwell, whoever. I don't know when that came out, but wow, man, this stuff is just totally draining. The fact that this is what we were allowed to see. I mean, I don't think that interview was in the Epstein files, but I think the sworn statement, I think, was from Tiffany. But yeah, it's just, whew, man, it's a lot to unpack. Definitely go on TikTok to see that unfiltered interview. I mean, I think I edited it just enough for you to be able to still see what she was saying. But that's just absolutely mind-blowing. And it sounds, from what she detailed, it sounds exactly like he would act, like he would make these girls probably think like they're beneath him and you're just here to do what I want you to do. And if not, I'm going to threaten you with this. This is where it all comes from, what he's doing in his presidency. That Lake Michigan stuff with the alleged baby being tossed like that. I'm sorry, I have to say it. I don't know how to phrase it any better. But the fact that he was speaking about this, oh, post-birth abortions, blah, 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 this is where it came from. Because whoever in their life has heard of a baby being aborted when they're born, how did that's literally impossible. They're born. Once you're born, you die. You don't get aborted. I don't know, but we see where his line of thinking came from. He remembered what he had them do back in the day, and he used that in his presidency and in his campaigns. But it's just so mind-blowing, the fact that his people are still wanting to support this and not condemning this. The fact that lady should be shunned. And I hope people are dragging her on her page. That lady that's saying, oh, when you were 13 or 15 years old, is the difference between 13 and 15 that great to where, like, if they're claiming they're 13 but they were really 15, does that make a difference? I'm really confused by where that lady was going with that. You're still under 18, woman. But the fact that she's trying to have the argument of, oh, you know what you were doing when you were a teenager. That's why they're quiet. A lot of them are coming up with their excuses and their defense of what they're going to start saying whenever more files come out. The fact that there's a million more documents, oh my God, like how many people do they have working on the redactions on this? Like imagine 200,000 files. Imagine adding an additional million like, oh my goodness, that just raises my anxiety. But back to that lady, it's just, this isn't just like, oh, sneaking out of the house while your parents are asleep to go drink or to go smoke. Like this is trafficking and being assaulted against your will by grown people that have a lot of power and took these victims, their childhood, and probably destroyed, like Katie said in her interview, your self-worth and just like your mental. Like this lady is just trying to make light of it. It's just truly sickening. Now, should we really be surprised? No, because this is what it's going to be. Like some people, I'm sure, are some MAGA supporters, Trump supporters, they're probably like, this is not looking too good. A lot of them are silent. Even a lot of the politicians and the MAGA influencers, you're not hearing a peep. That's why they're trying to distract you with this feud between Candace and Ben Shapiro and Nick and Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, all of them, because none of them want to speak about what's going on. I didn't include it in here, but Megyn Kelly trying to act like, oh, you're 15. It's not like you're 7 or 8 years old. Again, that's where they're going to start using their defense at. They're going to use it at the age. Oh, you're almost 18. It's not like you were a young child. It's just completely like hypocritical. Y'all were all, just like the one clip, y'all were all about the conspiracy when it was coming from QAnon and when it was towards the Democrats with this Pizzagate thing. But now all of a sudden it's your cult leader. You have nothing to say. You want to defend it. You think nothing was wrong. You think it's fake. Why does the DOJ have to put out a statement about its sensationalized statements and rumors and conspiracies, whatever the statement said, when y'all are releasing it? These aren't just like somebody's journal entries or posts from social media. These are legal documents. Now, yes, it's their own experience, and of course you have to investigate things. And you can't just take somebody usually at their word. You have to look at what evidence you have and all other factors, yes, but this isn't just coming from nowhere. There's a photo album of this man with women all over the place, but y'all gonna just sit here and say that it's fake? He was BFFs with this man. But y'all will continue to play stupid because you just don't want to admit the past almost 10 years of this man being in politics. You were lied to. The wool was pulled over your eyes and you fell for the BS. That's why a lot of them will never, and I'm going to always say this, and I've said this in many videos on my channel, a lot of these people are going to continue to play dumb and they are going to continue to act like nothing is wrong because they don't want to admit defeat. They don't want to admit that they fell for propaganda. They're just going to go along with it until he's out of office. He's trying to put out like Truth Social posts saying, oh, they're just trying to distract from the Republican successes. What successes? We are coming up on the new year. What successes have y'all had besides ICE raids and y'all got y'all bill signed? What else did y'all have success in this year? Everything was a flop, and I've documented a lot of it on my channel. Some I had to delete. And your people are having epic fails in their personal lives. Think of the farmers, the factory workers, business owners, so many people, but we could talk about that in another video. My question is, and I don't know if this has ever been mentioned anywhere, y'all let me know down below. If anything were to happen of this and like a state or someone would want to start to bring about charges, like how would this even work? Would he have to be impeached? Would he first, or would like a law enforcement agency like be able to like come get him from the White House and arrest him? Like how would we go about doing this if we would have enough to get him charged with something? And what about statute of limitations? Again, like, excuse my ignorance on it. I don't know how that would work. But I'm just really curious about all this because, I mean, to me, we almost have enough to at least require an investigation. But I don't know, you guys. We're going to have to see once this additional million docs get released, because I feel like this is just scratching the surface. There's things we need answers on. It would be so amazing if we had the full thing without redactions besides the victims' names and their likeness and the pictures and everything. But let me know what you guys think. I just think the fact that people that support him are still gonna stand beside this, it's just saddening to know that this is where we've gone in our country, to let blind loyalty like affect like your judgment on, like, there's 30 years of people being victimized, and it just, y'all don't care because you just don't want to admit that you were wrong. But anyway, you guys, this video is definitely long enough. Let me know what y'all think down below. Do you think more like crazy things like this is gonna come out? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next video. Bye, see you later.